In this video, we are diving into a beginner's crash course on radios and communication. This is something I'm still in the process of learning, so being unqualified to share my thoughts, I brought a very smart man to do the educational portion, which I will introduce in a moment. The best way to support the channel is by becoming a member of the kit page, where I provide discount codes and organize all the links to everything I talk about on the channel, including a full radio setup that I recommend for beginners and intermediate users. Super quick, make sure you're signed up for this month's range day. Details are linked in the description. Huge thank you to the sponsors of the channel, TA Targets, one of the best metal target manufacturers out there. They make fantastic and innovative products. Guns Online, thank you. YouTube hates them, which means you should love them, and you should love them even more because now on their site you can get suppressors. Speaking of which, now through the end of December, if you buy a qualifying Banish can, you'll receive a free Banish 22K version 2 suppressor. And of course, Optics Planet, use the new code GMEN at checkout, which will discount even your ammo through the month of November, plus free shipping on orders over $49. No full disclosure today, as this is just an educational video. I'm grateful Rob was able to come out and help me with this one. He is a self-taught radio expert and is working on getting his channel up, so check the description for how to find more of his content. I'm not going to take any more of your time. Here's Rob.
Hey, my name's Rob. I'm here to give a perspective on communications and the equipment involved. We're going to be diving into the world of two-way radios, Meshtastic devices, breaking down how to get started, what to consider when choosing equipment, and why planning is key to your radio setups. So I'm going to talk about pace plans a lot in this video, or at least bring them up a lot, and planning a lot. It may sound confusing or scary, but something like this, a contingency planner that would help you put together a pace plan for your communication. We'll go over that in depth in another video. There's a lot to talk about there and would just make this way too long. But in short, I will at least cover what this planner does. Basically what this planner is, it's full of resources and information to help you put together a plan. Some of the examples, depending on what you're looking for, are an infill, exfil plan that gives you conditions for why you would want to use that. Gives you keywords that you can use, emergency contacts. The pace plan here, which is primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. And that's what the pace plan is in short. So there's a bunch of stuff in front of me on the table. I can do just a small quick rundown, gives you guys an example. I'll start with the Motorola here. This is an XDS 2500. This is an old military radio. Police use them, ambulances use them, search and rescue uses them. They're a bit more on the complicated end of the scale, depending on the type of model that you have. This one here is a Model 3. Model 2s are the exact same radio, just no buttons. So you can't program them via the front panel. You have to program them on a CPS, which is just a programming software. The next one down is going to be the Anytone, which is GUNMEN's radio. This one is better to program via software, but it can be programmed with the front panel, or FPP, if you will. It's a very simple radio other than the features that it has. If you kind of ignore all those features, you can really dumb this radio down and be able to use it as simply as a Baofeng. The next radio I'm going to go over is going to be kind of a medium class. So these are radios that you have to buy used, mostly. This is a Kenwood radio. This was also an old government radio. As you can see, there is no buttons or anything on the front of this one. This radio is CPS programmable only. It's not in the step of high quality, but it is a mid-tier, and they're really easy to get on GovDeals or eBay. Then the next step is going to be this TYT UV390. This radio is really great. Front panel, as you can see, so you can program it that way. This is a digital DMR and encrypted capable radio. So this one is really great for teams. It's really great for being able to talk privately, be able to use this radio in all sorts of situations. This radio is also IP67 rated, so you can dunk this in a bowl of water and not have a problem with it. The next radio and the last radio, this is similar to a Baofeng. I don't have a Baofeng up here. You've all seen them. Everybody knows what they look like. But this is the TID Radio H3. This comes in 3 setups. It's a GMRS and a ham radio, and there is another feature with this radio that you can unlock with a simple code that allows you to use all of those frequencies. This radio is really great for every day. I do carry this radio around actually at work just because it's cheap and replaceable if I break it, and I'm not too worried about it. Some of the other devices that I have here as well. This is a Meshtastic device, which I will talk about later in the video. This has a rack wireless board in it, and it's in a 3D printed case with just an Amazon 915 megahertz antenna. This device is a Beartooth. This is similar to the same thing, but it is a developed software by another company. Same thing, 915 megahertz. Just runs off their own kind of proprietary program and their own app, if you will. And the other two devices that I have in front of me, this is what you would consider consider an EUD device. This is just a Samsung Galaxy S10 in a Juggernaut case. This one is a significant step up from this EUD. This is a Yule phone from Guerrilla Dynamics. This is a fully turnkey situation for an EUD device. ATAK is pre-programmed. All of the apps that you want to use for any kind of radio communication are pre-programmed in this one. This one is also really nice because it has a thermal camera in it. So that would be very useful depending on what you're doing it for. Everything on the table will get covered in this video. We'll briefly go over everything and cover them in depth later in future videos. Two-way radios are incredibly versatile. They can fit into any activity or outdoor ventures, from group communication to emergency preparedness. These devices will help you stay connected when cell service, Wi-Fi, or internet in general is unreliable. Before you jump in and buy a radio, you need to understand what you're getting into. Are you using it for short-range communication during hikes, or are you preparing for emergency situations where long-range contact is critical? Having a clear purpose will help you pick the radio for success while creating your pace plan and the types of equipment that fit your needs for your environments. All of my radio recommendations will be linked on the GUNMEN kit page. If you're just here for a link, feel free to check out the comms kit page. When it comes to two-way communication, there's a wide variety of equipment to choose from depending on your needs and objectives. I'm going to go break down some of the different classes and systems you should be aware of and how they would fit into the types of people or groups using them. The first is basic FRS and GMRS radios. These are your standard walkie-talkies, something like a Baofeng or TDI radio, typically used for personal communication over short distances. They're local repeaters and groups that you can find. My GMRS app is a big one. You can find local repeaters on there and how to talk to people, and they're usually pretty friendly. These radios are easy to use and perfect for day-to-day activities like hiking or events. They're limited in range, and the service is great for having fun hiking or family, compound, or farm communications. These are the most common radios and likely what you will use in any given situation. For example, keeping in contact with your team during some sort of operation or range day within a couple miles of each other. A basic FRS, GMRS radio is a great and lightweight. The second type of radio is going to be more of your ham radios, a bit like this Motorola. Amateur radios are more advanced and they allow for communication with longer distances. With proper licensing, you can access a wider range of frequencies. You have extended communication range. For those serious about prepping or more technical uses, this is where you want to focus. The difference between FRS and ham frequencies are ham frequencies are able to use the ionosphere to bounce signals all across the world or skip them, whereas UHF and VHF, stuff like this for GMRS, just kind of cut through the ionosphere. They don't really bounce back, so that's how they're limited on their range. The next that we're going to cover are Meshtastic devices. There's a couple variations that you can get into, especially with quality. This is a Beartooth radio. Guerrilla Dynamics was nice enough to send us some stuff so I could show you. This is a 3D printed case with a rack wireless board in it that I got from Rockland Tech. I just made the case and added the antenna, whereas this one is a actually manufactured device. The systems that they run on are a little bit different, where this is kind of everyone comes up and creates the software, whereas Beartooth software is pretty specific. The difference between the two really being that the quality is a lot higher on this end. You can tie both of these in with something like a service like ATAK if you have an EUD device, whereas this one's a Samsung. This is one of Guerrilla Dynamics phones that he provides, or EUDs that he provides, that are fully set up with all the software that you need. Meshtastic devices, they're great for creating decentralized communication networks, especially in remote areas. Range is limited and you kind of run into a lot of surfaces bouncing off signals and not getting clear communication when you're in like wooded areas, for example. These are usually at-home created devices like this that you can easily make yourself with a YouTube video and some basic supplies, 3D printer, antenna off of Amazon, some connections off to Amazon. These are great budget options for small groups who aren't really ready for the more complicated options. These are very expensive, great devices, and with Guerrilla Dynamics, they have a lot of great support for your setups. He'll run you through training on ATAK servers, how to add these on ATAK, how to add them into the system, and how to create a whole group or a whole mesh network within ATAK. Like I was saying, the examples are Beartooth, GoTenna Pro. They all use kind of a mesh network of sorts, and they just pass text messages that are encrypted with AES 256. They just don't really rely on anything kind of centralized to do that. It's their own network that they're able to repeat through and communicate through. through. These are great budget options for small groups who aren't ready for more complicated options like the Beartooth or Gotenna. They all kind of use the same mesh network to pass messages between users. The difference in the two really is this has a safer setup for encryption, whereas this one uses user-created keys on 256. Neither of them rely on any kind of centralized infrastructure like cell towers or the internet. Depending on your needs, like I was saying, they can be encrypted or private. The comms channel on YouTube has a great source for Meshtastic and creating those kind of groups and just getting it started, or advanced setups if you're already into it. These are, in general, both of them a great option for off-grid communications. For example, our team built these. I have an entire case of them here. We're just using these in our pace plan as secondary forms of communication. You get above 10 guys, and Meshtastic tends to be unreliable, especially if you're using it through ATAK instead of their software app, if you will. Whereas like this one, these ones are reliable up to as many people as you can add into them. They're directly integrated with ATAK, and they were designed to be directly integrated with ATAK. So your range is better, being able to see and talk to everybody is better. The other big difference, especially within your plans, is that Meshtastic is not a radio. It's just a communication device. Whereas Beartooth can be used as a radio through ATAK. You are able to connect headsets to it. You can use this as a radio with PTTs. They sell their adapters, and you would be able to speak through something like this versus Meshtastic, where it's just text messages. So I'm gonna cover usage of both these devices. With the homebrew Rec Wireless Meshtastic, you would use it through something like this, which is just a Galaxy S10. You would just open up Meshtastic app, connect it via Bluetooth, and just start texting away. Whereas this EUD and the Beartooth device, you would connect this through ATAK. And see the little red dot in the corner there? Click that, turn it on, connect it via Bluetooth, and start radioing and texting to your little heart's delight through ATAK. The biggest benefit, I guess, depending on what you're looking for and what your pace plan is that you can build a bunch of these for not too much money. Rack wireless board is $35. You get a pack of these antennas for like $5, and then you can 3D print the case or have a buddy print them. Beartooth, on the other hand, it is more expensive, better quality, and it's turnkey, so you don't have to do any of the work. Especially with Guerrilla Dynamics, kind of does it all for you. You just turn them on, connect them, and you're off and running. Depends on what your pace plan calls for, your skill level, and your willingness to learn on how you want to move forward with your decision between these two devices. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Manpack systems. This one is a bit of a homebrew 3D printed frame. The radio inside's an Anytone 778. It's a step up in capability from your standard radios. It's easy to get to, and it helps a lot with extended communications, which is why military and emergency responders use them. They're built for longer ranges. They're more durable, and they can handle harsher environments. They usually operate on HF, VHF, and UHF frequencies. Some radios are tri-band, so they can do all three. Not really HF, but at least VHF and UHF is important to have. HF is great if you're really into the hobby and you're really trying to reach people in Brazil, or if you really want to see the ISS. These provide big versatility when it comes to what you're trying to do, and they give you some leeway that a portable radio wouldn't, terrain-wise. The comparison between this setup versus this setup is going to be its intention, whereas these are great for short line of sight distances. These are great for, with a bigger antenna setup like the J-pole back here, are better for rougher terrain communication and a little bit longer ranges that you can reach out and touch people. The next one we're going to cover is radio over IP. I don't have any examples of that as it is rather expensive. This technology lets you use traditional two-way radios to connect them to other devices via the internet. Something like this XTS 2500 could be pulled into a radio over IP setup, which it has been in some cases, or the PRC 152s. Those have been pulled into ad hoc networks as well. It's an excellent option for organizations or individuals who need to link different radio systems across vast areas or integrate radios into more of a digital infrastructure. The next thing we're going to talk about is ATAK, just the Tactical Assault Kit. It's a powerful tool in a turnkey setup like this, or in a Samsung EUD that you have to learn and set up yourself. Military, law enforcement, search and rescue teams. It allows all of the users to connect radios, digital systems, providing real-time mapping, situational awareness, and data sharing over a communication network. If you're looking to expand your capabilities and integrate radios with technology for coordination in any kind of field operation, a hike, a range day, a team effort, a search and rescue effort, ATAK is definitely something to explore. There are people who have training services or training servers that you can learn on and how to use all the plugins and all the things that you can add into ATAK, such as FPV drone operations. You would be able to share what you can see into ATAK, and all of the users would be able to see that on the back end. There's a few other plugins that you can add in. Some of the really nice ones are helmet cams or ADS-B, which is airplanes. You'd be able to get transponder information from airplanes. APRS, which is digital function certain radios carry for GPS. Pretty much you'd be able to GPS your location. You can data sync network monitors, you can chat, you can geocam, and then, like I said, a lot of drone operations that you'd be able to integrate into that. And the next one we're going to talk about is EUDs, end user devices. EUDs, which are these two or the several others that I have in this case, they're typically smartphones or rugged tablets that are integrated with radio systems. These devices can connect to radios via mesh networks or radio over IP systems and often run advanced software like ATAK, which is what we just talked about. EUDs give visibility and data management and communication to multiple types of teams for multiple operations. They kind of streamline everything into one usable device in real time. They're both used by professional and hobbyists such as myself. Just kind of gives you more control and flexibility over their communication systems. And the next one we're going to talk about is mobile ad hoc networks or mesh networks. It's in line with radio over IP. They're self-configured networks and mobile devices like radios, EUDs, computers, laptops that communicate with each other wirelessly without the need for a central base station or established infrastructure. MANETs, ideal situations where infrastructure is down or non-existent, war zones, disaster zones, remote operations. Devices in a MANET communication, they communicate directly with one another, forming a kind of a dynamic decentralized network where every device can act as both a receiver and a relay station. MANETs are practically useful for coordination teams in the field as the network can automatically adjust as devices move in and out of the network. They maintain communication continually throughout connection and deconnection of radios. Each one of the options that we covered has its strengths, but the most important thing is to align the equipment with specific purposes and requirements in your PACE plans. So now we're going to talk about some radio frequencies, VHF, UHF, and HF, and what they mean for you and your plan. VHF, very high frequencies. These are ideal for open areas and outdoor communication, like hiking, boating, long-range communications with fewer obstructions. UHF, which is ultra high frequency, is better for urban environments with lots of buildings because it handles interference really well. It's great for neighborhood communication if you have a neighborhood watch or just kind of event like security, concerts, those kind of things. HF is high frequency. High frequency is what you'll use for long distance communication over hundreds or even thousands of miles. This is where things get serious, especially if you're preparing for emergencies where you might need to communicate across country. Understanding these frequencies will help you pick the right radios for your needs. HF, for example, was used in Helene. A lot of people would communicate back and forth using HF radios to get information across from people who were stuck or families that needed to reach out to people that were affected by Helene. As you can see, each frequency band serves a different purpose, and knowing which one of these is right for your use case is key. Whether you're communicating over short distances in an urban setting with UHF or looking to reach out across hundreds of miles with HF, understanding these frequencies will help you choose the right equipment for your plan. So before you buy any equipment, it's crucial to have a plan. Let me give you some examples and some checklists that you can follow where to get the ideas on how to start that plan. A big one that I mentioned earlier is the Mad Gear Co planner. He has several checklists in here that you can see for creating your plan, conditions on infill and exfill, vehicle inspections, checklists, as well as notes, frequency ranges, and some radio security puzzles that you would be able to use to keep your communications encrypted without actually having encryption, because that's illegal. Number one is your purpose. Why do you need this radio? This determines everything from the model to the accessories that you'll need. Number two is range. Are you communicating with someone a mile away or 100 miles away? That's where you pick your bands, VHF, UHF, HF. Those give you a better description, and you can fluctuate between the two. These are all personal radios except for the Anytone over there. That's GUNMEN's. This This is a DMR radio. This is a digital communication radio. This one definitely does not have encryption. This one, I fluctuate between UHF and VHF. That being said, I have to say that for VHF, a lot of it, you need to have a ham license, or you should have a ham license. Is it required? No, but you should. That's the correct way to do it and the easiest way to do it without getting in some kind of trouble. Now, the next steps are kind of picking your budget. Are you looking for something like a $30 radio or a few $100 radio, like the 2500 there? The next thing you want to go over is training. Are you willing to get licensed in amateur radio? This can open up a whole new world of communication, but requires dedication. Ham isn't easy. You can start with something as basic as a technician license, but you still have to prepare and read and want to learn how this stuff actually works instead of a couple of YouTube videos on the surface, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but it's not going to get you super far, especially if you're trying to be the RTO for your group. If your goal is to simply communicate with your family or the team you train with, all within a close range, then there's the setup that I recommend for you, which is something like this budget area, which would be a Baofeng, a TDI, or an Alliance, or a Redivis radio. They're all 30, 40, 50 bucks, not too crazy. And then a better option would be something like this Motorola. This is top end for the most part. A step down would be the Anytone, and a step down from that would be either this TYT UV390 or the Kenwood here. Those are all digital radios. They're all capable of digital radios. They're all capable of not encryption. The absolute best options that you could get into are radio over IP or mobile ad hoc. It's available, people can purchase it, but one of those radios is quite a bit and definitely out of my price range. So I didn't cover any of your programming of the radios. It's something that I can do for you. YouTube can teach you. Instagram is a huge source for being able to get into programming radios, understanding them, how they work. There's a lot of education out on Instagram. Anywhere ranging from ZBM2, who makes these antennas, to Field Radio, RTO Tech, the comms channel, A2 Comms. Any of those guys can be a huge help in any kind of education toward the radio systems and the plannings that you want to put together. I can also help you out if you come into the GUNMEN range days. I'll be there. I'll have the laptop. I can do whatever I need for you. You can ship me stuff too, and I'd be happy to take care of it for you. My info for that will be linked below if you're interested. Learning about radios doesn't stop with buying one. Education is extremely critical. Planning is extremely critical, especially if you're diving into amateur radio. There are tons of resources out there. Online courses, on-site courses, off-grid courses, local ham radio clubs. These are great for hands-on experience and mentorship. Like I stated before, YouTube channels, forums like Reddit. The radio community is huge online. Like I talked about with Instagram channels and YouTube channels before. There's lots of places to learn, and if you're eager, people are more than willing to help you. But you need to take your time to learn, to test your equipment, and build a communication plan tailored to all of your needs, as specific or as broad as they are. So whether you're using radios for fun or prepping emergencies or just expanding your communication skills, having a plan is essential. Knowing your purpose, choose your equipment wisely with lots of thought behind it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of the many people that I've mentioned on Instagram, or if you need more specific help, I can point you at least in the correct direction on how to get that. Stay moist and keep communicating.
This is the first of many videos I plan to create with Rob. Like he was saying, radios and communication really can't fit all into just one video, so stay tuned for more. Many more builds and reviews coming to the channel soon. Reach out to Rob and support him by having him program your radio. He's a really good dude. I'll see you in the next one.